Hello, I wanted to talk today about how I began yoga. When I was in my 20s, I tried aerobics. This was the 1980s. I'm dating myself here, but this was in the 1980s, and I tried aerobics and went to these fitness classes, and I tried jogging, and I tried doing all these health and fitness things that were fashionable at the time and still are to some degree. And I didn't do very well in them. I found I didn't enjoy them at all. And I remember joining the YMCA and not really going very often because this was in Toronto and it just wasn't my bag, wasn't my gig. And then a few years later, I found myself in Victoria, Canada, staying with a friend, and she said, do you want to come to a yoga class? And back in the day, yoga was a sort of word I knew. My mother had a yoga book and she'd been using that. You know, it'd been around since, I think, the 60s, so about 20 years it'd been in the West, but it was a bit kind of off as a side shoot thing. It wasn't what many people did. So it was still, you know, you want to try yoga. Oh, that's a bit weird. Don't you do chanting? And there's all sorts of weird stuff going on in there. But I thought, well, I'll give it a go anyway. I was staying with this friend, so I went along to this yoga studio. I could still feel the energy of the room, and it was in a sort of attic space. So there was sloping ceilings, and we started doing these sequences. And I'd been tree planting that summer, so I was quite fit. I was quite healthy, quite athletic. I'd been outdoors. I'd been, you know, doing a lot. And although I had an injury in my shoulder, I'd had to stop the tree planting quite prematurely. However, you know, I recovered and I was still pretty active, and we'd just been on a big cycling trip down to Souk, and we came back and then we went to this yoga class. Well, after that first class, I was wiped out. I don't know what happened in the class, but I was completely floored. I just went back to my friend's house, went up to the room where I was staying, and slept for the next 12, 14 hours. I just couldn't get up. And that was kind of like a seed moment for me that stayed with me. Although I didn't do yoga, I did the odd class here and there. Nothing like that ever happened to me again. But it was like a seed moment that I kept coming back to. What was that deep, deep relaxation that entered into my body at that time? And what is this practice of yoga? So that's the beginning of my origin story, as it were, of my relationship to yoga. And it started with that one class that completely wiped me out. So yeah, just if you have an origin story of your first class, what was it? What grabbed you? I'd love to hear, because I think those moments can be quite important to bring us forward, to help us in our practice as we grow and develop our yoga practice. It's always that first moment, that first kiss, as it were, with the practice.